A lot of moving parts, but we finally made it work. So thanks to our engineers. Good morning. This is the Park County Commission regular meeting for Tuesday, June 7th at 9 a.m. No public hearings this morning, no scheduled public comment. Is there any public comment for items that are not on the agenda today?
I believe so.
Please. And just name so we know who you are.
Okay. My name is Zachary Park. And this is my first time speaking at a meeting like this, much less attending one. So I'm very new at this. I'll do my best to share my concerns and get to the point. So thank you for your time. I've lived here for about 24 years. I first came to the park. I first came through a job in Yellowstone National Park, and for the duration of those 24 years, worked for nonprofits, supporting the communities in the park, raising money for conservation in the park, and so on. Fast forward to 2020, I decided that I was going to start my own business, and I was going to utilize my property and immigrant to run that business. Around the same time, I started seeing those lovely no zoning signs all over the valley. And so I started wondering, what are these no zoning signs all about? I got online, and it's a couple of years now, but I recall it being very difficult to find clear, decisive information on where the legislation was moving with the county on zoning, who it would affect, when it would take place, what type of business activities it would limit. So I started asking friends, neighbors, colleagues, and the like, putting it out there. I want to know because this could affect my business plans potentially, and my family's well-being in the valley and so forth and so on. Eventually, a friend and neighbor of mine by the name of Brian Wells, who you may know, reached out to me. And Brian, of course, has been a big player in the community. He played an active role in the 20-year moratorium on mining around Yellowstone National Park, which I think is no small matter. It's a very big thing he did there. Brian was tremendously supportive. He told me that my concerns were shared by a number of people in the community that he had worked with, and that he was on the board that was working on this legislation. So he shared with me what he felt comfortable to share as to where the legislation was moving, but he also expressed what he thought was a need to bring some folks together in the community to have some conversations at a more grassroots level. So he started with a small group of 10 people. He went out into the community, sought these people out. He was looking for folks with very diverse backgrounds, and I think he did a good job of bringing those people in. Folks who come from multi-generational families in the valley to folks like myself who haven't been here nearly that long. Folks who have backgrounds in agriculture, ranching, and folks who have backgrounds, professional backgrounds, and everything from nonprofits to banking, you name it. Very diverse group. He also brought in Kate Stewart to play the role of the facilitator and mediator for the meeting. She has extensive experience doing just that, and she did a fantastic job. And from what I've come to learn, this is the first group of many groups soon to come with this sort of gathering of community members to discuss this zoning issue. And I want to take an opportunity to give credit to both Brian and Kate. They demonstrate a deep sense of duty towards their community. They're not getting reimbursed at all, compensated anyway. They're going out there on their own time, pulling people together. And their form of activism, which really appeals to me, is not to divide people, but to pull people together and find common ground. So we had 4 meetings over the course of roughly a month, each meeting about 2 hours long. The first meeting in mid-March brought together this very diverse group of people, and we found common ground on a number of issues. And I want to share 2 key issues that this group found common ground on that I think are worth sharing to you all, regardless of what side of the zoning issue they were on. So regardless of their political leanings, we found unity in these 2 key things I want to share. First, it was amazing to hear how deeply connected people were to this place. It is such a deep part of their identity. It is so much of who they are. And one of the the values that rose to the top was the intact ecosystem. And even with those who came from multi-generational ranching families agreed that that was one of the major things that they valued about living here. Of course, and the like, and how much we value that. And for me to be kind of out in my own world, brought into this meeting with 10 people who I've never met before over the course of 24 years, I felt like, wow, I feel that way too. I feel exactly that way. And so this was such a positive experience. There was also a shared concern, this is the second theme, about the degree to which the county officials were communicating and engaging the community. I understand that the coronavirus pandemic played a large role here, and I'm not going to just throw that by the wayside. But there was a sense that more could be done to actively engage the community on this issue in particular, but this is a broader concern that doesn't just address the zoning legislation, but will likely affect all legislation moving forward if it persists. What I gleaned from the comments in the group was there was a very significant erosion of trust. And I, when hearing that, reflecting on how difficult it was for me to get the information I wanted on zoning, thought, well, I feel that way too. When I consider the two together, it's kind of a potent mix. There's people who are so deeply identify with being residents of Park County, the greater ecosystem and the like. And at the same time, they feel like wrong or right, better or worse, they're not being heard at the level that they feel like they should be heard by some of the leadership within the county. I think that's a big deal. And I want to just reflect on a personal experience. Was that a bird?
Let's see.
Yeah.
It's the camera
The olive shots. That bird agreed with you.
We'll probably have multiple speakers.
Yeah, I'm just going to share a professional experience I had, and I'll get to the point and I'll move on. But my last job was the director of operations for a nonprofit organization that was then and is today the nonprofit partner of Yellowstone National Park. I'm not going to put names out here, but y'all can probably fill in the blanks. After a merger in 2016, a new CEO was brought in, and over the course of time, there were more concerns being brought to my attention and others in the executive and leadership team within the organization about the perceived lack of communication between the leadership and the folks who worked real hard to make sure those folks got a paycheck, big paycheck. Mm-hmm. And over the course of time, it got worse and worse and worse. And I, along with my colleagues, determined that it was time to develop a grassroots movement within the ranks of the organization to bring change to leadership. We used every resource at our disposal. We engaged all kinds of people within the community, the board, and so on. The leadership fought back with everything they had because they didn't want to see this movement reach its goal, essentially. In the end, it was like D-Day. We showed up on their shores with fixed aircraft, rotary wing aircraft. We had ships with cannons on one side and paratroopers landing on the other. And we took them out. And they didn't know until the last second. They didn't know how much strength this grassroots movement, what weapons they brought to bear. They had so many opportunities up to that point to prove to us that they wanted to listen. And when the CEO, when the hatchet was on her neck, she was so caught off guard because she was so far removed from the hearts and minds of the people who were so deeply connected with the mission, the place they lived in, and how hard they were willing to fight for what they thought was right. I say all this to just drive one key point home, and then I would like to hand it off to another member of our group here. I would encourage the county to try a bold new approach in communications with the folks in the community. I do not subscribe to the Livingston Enterprise. I'm of a generation where that's not something where that's not where you get your news. I rarely check my PO box, maybe once a week. I do, however, get a lot of emails from PCEC after signing up for their mailing list, and that's where I find out where the community meetings are and the like. I'm a little concerned that a non-GO is informing me, though, of the government meetings and what's going on and how they're engaging the community. Now, I don't know if it's something that y'all can do where, if we left the room today, could we put our email address on the list and then from that point forward, get the emails that would alert us to things going on with county leadership. There's also been some ideas to do mailings, but again, that doesn't speak to my generation quite as much. But that's why I came to address you today. And I also want to let you all know that reflecting on my career in nonprofits, I want to help. I want to be a part of civic engagement. And I think I'd be happy to share my contact information with anyone in this room. And if we can improve the situation, we're all going to come out much better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Let me get, could I get your last hands up?
PRK, just like Kim.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna just stand up because I want to see everybody behind us. And what Zach said, I share 100%.
You just don't have your name. too.
Oh, Sandra Lambert, I'm from the Wine Glass.
Thank you.
And our group, because we were random strangers, we proved to each other, and we came away as friends and respectful of each other because we could listen. This is not exactly a format to have conversations. We can stand up and say our pieces. But what we liked about the group organization, and Kate put up a website, and it is parkcountyconversations.org, to recruit more people into groups like this, because it's a successful way to feel like we have a stake and also to know our neighbors. Okay, I'll tell you a bit of my history. It's different than Zach's because we're all different. But in the mid-70s, living in Missoula, we started the idea of planning in Missoula. And that was radical, and everyone was upset. They hired a planner that ended up being a neighbor of mine. And so he asked if I could give him a little support because he was new, didn't know anybody, and come to the meetings. I said, sure. And he was really well educated. He came up with, I thought, brilliant ideas. So of course, everyone hated him. They mistrusted him. No one listened to a word he said. He was from Hyannis, Massachusetts. They told him he talked funny and he wasn't from around here. So then we had a forest fire, and that burned everything we owned except the clothes on our back. And my husband was recruited to Jackson Hole. So we spent decades and decades in Jackson. Jackson was starting zoning. And I thought, well, all they were doing in Missoula when I left was fighting. And so maybe I'll just listen and see what's going on in Jackson, learn what the issues are. No question of a planner. They didn't even have a planning commission. And so volunteers who were just well-meaning amateurs, like we all are, came forward. And darned if after 3 years, they didn't have a plan. So nearly 50 years ago, I was young and now I'm old, and their stakeholders, Missoula, Teton County, were no better or worse than ours, and the arguments are the same. What we have here, Teton County had, which is great beauty, open spaces, wildlife that brings in millions of visitors. And now thousands of them want to call this place home. So how do we keep what we have and not lose what our future could be? By either not going on board with zoning or having such weak zoning that it doesn't protect us anyway. And so I guess what I would like to say is that we all care about the valley. we look at it in different ways, but let's try to take a step and see a bigger vision of what we have to lose. And that's what I hope you all will help us in your leadership going forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. By the way, there's also a communication we'll be mentioning during correspondence that pertains to some of the same questions. So,
Okay.
all right, additional public comment for items not on the agenda. Public comment? Okay, let's go to action items. Discussion decision on COLA and other pay adjustments. I'm sorry, we had a request maybe to move item 4 up to the top. Discussion decision to hire outside counsel in the matter of Nathan White. Is that good?
Sure.
Okay. So, Kendra, do you want to give us a brief rundown?
Yeah, I'm Kendra Lasser, I'm the county attorney. Hi, and Park County has been sued by a group of, by 3 plaintiffs who filed this 82-page complaint with almost 300 pages of exhibits. It's just this rambling. There are 3 co-counsels. The city's involved, we're involved, and
School district.
School district, yes. And so we all have different counsel on board. And so in talking with the other counsel, one of them described the lawsuit as someone went to the internet and vomited up what they found onto this complaint. It's very convoluted and whatever. So the other 2 entities have outside counsel representing them. And the Bia from the school district, I don't know if she's on time with them full time or if she's just brought in on as needed basis, but the city has brought in someone from the Crowley firm to represent them. The case has been removed after federal district court. And we would, like in our office, we have 2.5 lawyers. We until recently had 3, but Shannon, our civil deputy, was recruited to head up the Board of Health, which is a severe loss for us, big gain to the county. And so anyway, we're at a deficit anyway, but even if we were fully staffed with legal counsel, it probably would not be something that we would just literally have the manpower or willing power to deal with our limited resources. And so with that and the fact that there's been federal district court, we were asking the commissioners to approve hiring outside counsel to represent the county's interests in that. And hopefully it's something now that's been removed. Well, I shouldn't say this, but obviously we hope that it will be resolved as quickly as possible, but there's no guarantee. And to go to pretrial hearings and a trial and depositions and all these things in billings is just not something that we can do.
Thank you. Public comment on this agenda. Discussion.
I have a quick question. With makeup insurance, does that,
That goes to fine defenders, which is
Okay.
interesting because MMIA is covering the city
okay,
in addition
you.
to their outside counsel.
And just so you
Okay.
know, the MMIA and NACO is the county's insurance cover, who generally, if the county gets sued in certain capacities, then they will provide outside legal counsel. As part of our insurance coverage, the city's insurance cover has done that. Our provider has done that, but NACO won't handle any lawsuits that involve an element of communicable disease because these claims stem out of regulations that were enacted during COVID, that they won't cover us.
It's just a policy question for them.
Thank you.
Additional public comment. Commission discussion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the hiring outside counsel for the matter of Nathan White.
Second. Discussion. Yeah, it's really a capacity issue, and we understand the shortfalls in that capacity at the moment, but hopefully we resolve those soon. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Discussion decision on the COLA and other pay adjustments. Erica.
So a week or two ago, the compensation board met and proposed a 5% COLA for elected officials. And so that's in process of getting the resolution put together. In the meantime, we typically approach the commission to discuss staff wages. And so the information that I provided to you is a 5% COLA based on the compensation board's recommendation. And the total impact to the county is $385,000. There are some CMS wage increases that are around 40,000 of that is to bring everybody up to their grade level. And then the COLA goes on top of that. So, and so that's just for commission consideration. The impact to the general funds, wages plus benefits is about 135,000, and to the funds outside the general fund is about 250,000.
Good. Thanks, Erica. Public comment on this agenda item. Commission discussion.
For an action item, do we have to list the percent of increase then? Are we looking at 5%?
It would be best to give a percent, yes.
So we were looking at both the 5% COLA applied to the salaried employees or for the non-elected employees, and also the
That's
adjustments related to the CMS study.
right. This actually includes elected officials as well. So that amount is probably, I think it's like $60,000. So there's a small piece of it that is in there that's already been approved.
Okay.
So it's like county-wide.
So we're looking at 5% COLA plus the CMS increases.
Yes,
recommended.
yes.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the 5% increase for employees plus adjustments by CMS study.
I'll second. Discussion. All part of being competitive. We know how hard it's been to hire and keep employees. So struggling along with everyone else. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Passes. Thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Discussion decision on signing a contract with TCA for bridge construction in Cook City. Good morning, Matt.
Morning. So this is the low bidder for the 3 bridges in Cook City. TCA Group came in at $829,000. That is within the engineer's estimate. And so signing this contract, they'll be moving forward into July with the start of construction.
Okay. Thanks, Matt. Public comment on this agenda. Have we spent a lot of time on? Commission discussion.
It's been discussion and a request for 9 years that I've been here, 9.5 years of these bridges. 2 of the bridges are worse, they're in the county.
For sure, the state.
So, So, I would make a motion that we approve the CTA for bridge construction in Cook City.
GCA.
TCA, I'm sorry.
I'll second that. Discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Discussion decision on Park County Senior Center ARPA funding request. Kristen, are you on the line?
I am Steve. This is I guess the new proposal from the senior center, taking out some of the last requests, adjusting some of the costs on the water heaters. And I believe Lauren is on, and Kateri might be on as well. I think she manages the senior center.
Okay.
I am here.
Good morning, Lauren. Any introductory comments?
Yes, first I want to say thank you for letting us come back with this proposal. Appreciate the opportunity and apologize for the last, a couple things I wanted to say. So I did reach out to 4 different plumbers to get bids. Was able to talk to 2, 3 of them. We don't have any other bids besides the one we submitted. I talked to Jeff Hill, Joe Rapali, and we can wait for those. I can press for more time to get more bids. If we can get it done cheaper, that would be great. We did add a repair to one of the doors, and we do have a bid on that from Bozeman Lock and Safe. I reached out to Phil Dawson here in town. He wasn't interested in doing the work, but he did look at the bid, and he said he knows Kristen real well. So Kristen, if you'd like to, you could visit with him. He thought the bid was maybe a little high, just for the part, but without him wanting to do the work, I don't know of another option. I did want to, I think it's important, just so for your comfort, that the funds will be going to a good use. In our last meeting, Commissioner Tinsley, kind of made the comment that, maybe you need to raise rents, maybe you need to do this, and I just wanted to address that. We know that, and starting last December, we did do a blanket increase of $50 per unit. We've had 5 vacancies come up since then. Each unit's been evaluated and the rent's been raised on those. We did raise the rents for Meals on Wheels. They're a great tenant, but we had to raise it just because of increased costs for utilities and so on, and they were happy to do that. We're going to have a new commercial space open. Marikai did not renew their lease at the end of last year, and then we gave them notice that we would not be renewing it either. And that space is going to give us or allow us to, realize more rent there. So anyway, we've got some good things in the works. And like I was telling Kristen earlier, we hope to be back in the position where we were before COVID, where we were more of a pillar of the community, providing these great programs and housing for the seniors. So this will go a long way. Let me know if you have any questions.
Great, thank you, Laura. Public comment on this agenda item.
Can I confirm what the dollar request is?
It's for $18,250, and the components are $9,000 for commercial water heater, $7,500 for the installation of the water heater, and $1,750 for the repair of an exit mechanism for the door on Lewis Street.
Thank you.
Public comment? Commission discussion.
Mr. Chair, I do appreciate everybody's effort and for the senior center. We for the 5% increase to keep our employees. We're in the same boat. We looked at a sheriff department budget last week that's $800 and some thousand above revenue. We have huge issues in Park County. I do support the senior center totally, but I cannot vote to approve this.
Yeah, I've got concerns as well, and I'm not sure how urgent the water heater issue is. It doesn't really the narrative. It seems like it's an enhancement, but not an urgent need. And it seems like the door seems to be actually more of an urgent issue. But I remember going to a lot of the senior center meetings up to about 4 years ago, maybe 5. And at the time, I think there was a realization that the business model was not what I would term as sustainable. I think there was an understanding that they had rents that were well below HUD guidelines and needed to get those up, but there was no plan really to do that. And so I struggle with this because I really want to see them succeed, but I'm not thinking that this is the answer in terms of long term. So I'd really like to see this paired with some understanding of what they plan to do over the next, say, 3 to 5 years to put this organization on a sustainable footing. So I wouldn't be able to support it as it's currently. Do you want to leave this open with no action or,
Either way, I mean,
I wouldn't mind leaving it open because as of yet, they have not yet approached the city. The city was trying to put together a protocol as far as how to screen and make recommendations on ARPA funding. I think that committee is actually in place, and I think maybe it's timely that for the senior center to consider approaching the city and see if they're interested in providing some matching funding, and see what their concerns might be. They may be different from mine.
well, I agree, and this was expense that was built for years and years until Pittsfield was going down so fast that we had to do something about it.
Mhm.
So this, I just can't see Park County being a place where they fund the senior center. It should be a standalone organization.
Mhm. So no action at this point?
I agree.
Okay, so that will leave it open for a follow-up item potentially, and I really strongly urge the organization to go to the city and see what they're willing to do and do what concerns they might have. All right. Okay, let's go to next decision item, discussion decision approving a ground lease at Gardner Airport for the Chaplains.
Yes,
Matt?
this is for a ground lease at the Gardner Airport. Just a simple transfer of the hangar that's on the ground from one individual to another. I did put down the wrong rate on that. I've got the Wilsall rate instead of the Gardner rate. It should be 6.8 cents per square foot instead of the 0.9 cents per square foot. So if you could just make an amendment on that if you approve it, that would be great.
Good. Thanks, Matt. Public comment on this agenda. Commission discussion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the ground lease to the Gardner Airport for Chapman's.
Okay, at 6.8 cents per square
6.8,
foot.
yes.
Okay, I'll second that with that change in the lease rate. Discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Motion passes. Pretty standard. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion decision open container waiver number 22624-1 EXP. Morning, Maureen.
Morning. So this is another standard action item, just the process by which the public has to go through if they would like to have alcohol at Arch Park for an event. Mostly just contains questions about safety plans and making sure that nobody under the age of 21 is going to be consuming alcohol, ensuring that there's appropriate liability in place. This particular group did meet all of the requirements for our open container waiver application process. The Sheriff's Department did approve it, and so now it's just waiting for approval from the commissioners.
Okay, that was going to be my question. The sheriff had not yet checked off, but he's aware of it and approves. Thanks, Morgan. Public comment on this agenda item. Commission discussion.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve that open container waiver for application 220624-1M.
Okay, EXP Jones. Second. Discussion. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Discussion decision on seasonal dry storage rental at the Park County Fairgrounds for Silo Espresso.
Yes, so I was approached by the two business owners of Silo Espresso, which is a new mobile coffee shop that's coming here to Park County. And they are looking for dry storage space for their season, looking to start as soon as possible and probably go through the end of September. They have expressed interest in coming and setting up the coffee station at the fairgrounds for large events, but they will be mobile and moving around the county as needed. Since from the time that I put this request for a fee reduction on the commission, I've had a chance to go back and look and see what we have done as far as fee waiver reductions for similar groups. The closest model I could find is when we had Doorstep Farm Foods requesting to use our kitchen weekly for several months to do food packaging. That was also a for-profit business. And so just trying to match a similar fee reduction to Doorstep Farm Foods, it seems that in my mind, a fair rate would be about $300 a month for them to use the small concession stand at the east side of the arena, with the exception of when the rodeo is going to be using that space, in which case they could either move to the poultry barn with their dry storage, or one of our small dry closets in the kitchen. But it's certainly up to the commissioners and what sort of precedent you'd like to make with allowing long-term storage of a for-profit business.
Okay, thanks, Gordon. Public comment on this, Jim. Commission discussion. Yeah, that was a concern I had, and I don't know what, what precedent it sets for allowing a for-profit business to have long-term use in what essentially a public facility. And, so that's my ongoing concern.
Well, yeah, and mine is for profit, competing with other coffee shops in Livingston and Park County. I'm not sure how they would feel about it, for sure. What would be the regular price?
They asked, they proposed 200, and you're saying 300, Gordon?
And that would be just based off of the fee reduction that was approved for doorstep farm foods, which is about 37% of the daily rate. And this would be, so the $300 would be about 37% of the daily rate to rent the back concession stand without refrigeration. And so if they'd like to do refrigeration, we'd have to negotiate the electricity expenses for that as well.
Thank you, Patsy. Yeah.
I just have a hard time doing a for-profit cutting fees when they're competing against the coffee shops that are already here.
Yeah. I've got a similar concern. Can I provide a motion to release out there?
I would move that we could approve dry storage at that regular going rate.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. No. Motion passes. Motion denied.
Following the fee
Sorry for that
schedule.
little fumbling there. All right, county board recommendations, none today. County department updates. You know, the first.
Sure. So our crew is working up on Big Creek today or this week. We have kind of a private public partnership up there. One of the landowners is paying for all the material. So the guys are working on that road. That will keep that county road in a lot better condition, and also the work they're doing on it will make it so it doesn't need nearly as much maintenance in the future, reducing the amount of work we have to do. Potter Creek Bridge up north of Wilsall, the inspectors from MDT were up there this last week. The bridge was closed due to the decking being fairly rotten, and we've ordered the decking to replace that, but they also found a structural support that was broken. So it was good that we had the bridge closed, and they told us that it needs to be closed until we get that repaired. But that's a repair we can do in-house. So that'll be happening here over the next month or so. And then the state agency that enforces weight limits on bridges won't actually do that unless there's a county resolution, even though MDT sets the weight limits on the bridges. So I'm working on a resolution right now so that we can have those weight limits enforced. So that people stop driving across the bridges when it's too heavy and damage county infrastructure or potentially hurt themselves as well. Solid Waste Department, we're doing a lot of safety work and just kind of updating the transfer station, making sure everything's good in there to go for hauling waste to Logan here in less than a month. And then Teresa in weed control mosquitoes, she is taking a tour with a representative to look at different larvicide locations kind of in the Livingston area. We're going to try to move to doing a little more larvicide and a little less adulticide. That should be more effective at reducing mosquitoes as well as being more environmentally friendly. Because if you can kill them all while they're in one group in water before they fly, then it's just more effective and you don't have to use as much material. So that's everything I've got.
Good. The weight limit thing brought up my question about, what the final resolution might be on the Cortland Bridge.
That turned out they had GPS data that showed the truck did not go over the bridge, so it's been open now for a while.
Okay.
Yep. But there's plenty of other vehicles that have been going over it that are not quite that heavy, but are over the weight limit.
Hence the need for the weight limit.
Exactly.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Erica?
Thank you. So, work on budget, getting ready to work on year end, and we'll be rolling over payroll into the new fiscal year. So just lots of pieces moving right now, and so it's looking good. Yep. Thank you.
Morgan?
Yes, so today the polling booths are open at the fairgrounds. So there's a lot of action. That's our activity going on down there. Additionally, we have our volunteers, quite a few volunteers that are coming in this week helping the fairgrounds just with the preparation for the rodeo and summer events, helping us with painting tables, picking up trash, general cleanup, as well as kind of trying to figure out why our roof is leaking once again. Last year, we did have quite a few repairs done by Ace Roofing to try to fix the leaks. It seems that they're back. Some of the leaks are in places where the new HVAC system was installed. Some of them are in different areas, which is unfortunate because we do now have water in our HVAC system. So working to get that resolved. And we'll also be talking about a roof replacement again during the budget workshop next week. Aside from that, we have several Fairgrounds and Parks Committee meetings this week. One is this evening at 5:30 p.m. It's the External Affairs Committee meeting. And then on Thursday, we have the Footbridge and Trails Committee meeting. We're going to look at some maps from the city's active transportation plan and see where some of those potential trail systems could lead out into the county and just do some brainstorming. Aside from that, we finished up, or the project is almost finished with pouring a concrete slab in our storage barn. So we're going to begin putting all of our storage materials back in there, and then hopefully that'll open up space for us to more easily move into the ADA bathroom renovation project when the timing comes. I think that's all that I have. Oh, no, sorry, one more thing. We do have, we finally had some applicants for fairground seasonal staff, as well as the events and community coordinator position. So now that Lisa's back, we're going to look at offering those positions and having more hands on the ground at the fairgrounds, which is great. We're looking forward to it.
Great, busy time of year. And I hear that the rodeo is sold out for all 3 nights already.
I think that there might be a couple of backup tickets lingering around, but I'm not sure where people can get them.
Okay. All right. So consider that a teaser. All right. Thank you, Morgan. Lisa, welcome back.
Thank you. We're just wrapping up open enrollment and we met with everybody and so we'll have that done by this Friday, get our information completed for that. So that's a good step forward. Always a relief at the end of the year, at the end of the fiscal year. So and we actually had I think a slight uptick in applications. We've had more interest and maybe it's more word of mouth, but I think we're doing a good job of advertising it by word of mouth to get these key positions filled with some really good employees. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you.
Hey, by the way, the initiative, county civil attorney, is that position been posted yet?
No,
Oh,
county civil attorney?
yeah,
No, Deb
or the deputy HR.
in the position.
She's there as a, temporary, though,
She's
right?
here as a short-term person, or yeah, she's here as a temporary position. But we're looking at that in the future, whether she wants to continue in as the role that she's in, and then because currently she works approximately 20 hours per week.
Right.
So we're looking to see if we want to create another part-time position or so that's what Kendra and I just started talking about.
Good. I was going to ask if you mind touching base with Kendra to see what her thoughts are.
Right.
I think that she's thinking we probably need somebody full-time there and I would agree with
Either one full-time or yes, some kind of an addition to that part-time
that.
position.
Yeah, she can circle out with her.
Right, thank you.
Good, thanks. Mark?
Yeah, well, the most important thing, have two people with me today. Our interns started today. It's Megan and Fran here. Gonna definitely help us so much in getting some of our collections not only properly cataloged, but digitized so they're more accessible for everyone. So very glad they were able to join us. Living History Day was, of course, Saturday. That was a great event. We didn't get too wet for most of the day, so had a good turnout there. It's always good to see that many people use the museum, so that was nice. End of the year, getting the annual report together. Also, just finishing up the final drafts from the strategic planning process, so that should be updated and ready to go soon.
Great.
Yeah, so where we are.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Mike, are you on the phone?
Good morning. I'm on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, good morning.
So a few updates from the planning department. We have our board meeting coming up next week. It'll be the first in-person meeting that we've had in a few years. And we also have a board training that will commence prior to the regularly scheduled meeting. Board training is from 1:30 to 4:30. We've got Mako attorneys, Karen Alley and Tara Depew, that will be providing the training. So we're in the process of kind of working with them on logistics, and then they're going to provide training materials to provide to the board members. As far as the county and Northwest Energy potential land swap, we did receive our appraisal back of the county property. I sent that to you guys, and I think we've got a meeting scheduled with Northwest Energy in the next week or so. Lawson and I are continuing to advertise for the proposed zoning district and regulations. We will be going out through this week, providing it to folks that have requested copies, trying to get it in additional places so people will have a chance to review that. We have it up on our website. We have it located in our office, the commissioner's office, as well as the clerk and recorder's office. And then we're encouraging anybody who wants copies, they can email us and we can send that to them. And we also have board members that have requested the ability to send that information out through social media. And so we're hoping that, over time, people will become more aware of what's going on and provide us comments. I do want to remind the commission that if you do receive comments via email or in writing, make sure that we get a copy of those so that we can track all those comments in anticipation of going through them with the board and the commission. I've been helping with Ashley Smith, the new compliance officer. We met with the attorney's office last week to start talking about process. So she's going to be doing a lot of work in developing kind of standard operating procedures and getting everything in place before moving forward with enforcement proceedings. And then just wanted to give you guys an update. I received a notification from Mike Thome, our district ranger down in the Gardner area, that they have a potential pending deal with a landowner in the Silvergate area to create a trail system to Bridal Falls that will address the private property issue. So I'm going to be meeting with him or discussing this with him shortly, and then I'll keep you guys updated as to our progress.
Good, thanks, Mike. Greg, are you on this morning? Okay. Dr. Desnick, are you with us today? Okay. Shannon, are you on the phone today? All right. Kristen, anything before the project updates? We lose sound?
No, I just don't see Kristen on anymore.
Oh, okay. Should be dropped off. Okay, well, let's go to project updates. Public transportation. If Kristen's not with us, we have no update. That may also hold for Sheila's Valley Communication Project, but I don't think there's anything going on. I think we're looking at, Matt, I don't know if you know anything about that one.
I don't.
Okay. I know that they were poised to begin operation there.
I do know there's something that's gonna have a little bit of an additional cost. And Greg was going to, approach maybe some other, cost coverage for like $2,000.
Okay, so we'll wait for him to hear about that.
Yeah.
Okay, growth policy implementation. Mike, anything to add?
Yeah, left.
Mike's still on.
Yeah, not muted though.
I did not mute him.
Well, we may not have any updates. Crevice Mountain Road, I have no update on that. I haven't heard anything, Mr. Berg.
Updates for me.
Cybersecurity, that one is Christian as well. Gardner capital improvements, the minimum allocation infrastructure program is also Christian, so we don't have much for updates today.
Yep.
So, public comment for the above projects, such as they are. Okay, meeting minutes.
Mike might be getting on.
Sorry, commissioners, this is Mike. I didn't realize how quickly you moved through those. I've got a growth policy update if you'd like it.
Sorry, that was more quickly than I anticipated. So, yeah,
So for the growth policy, I've been kind of waiting to hear back from the attorney's office relative to the public comment we received from Friends of Park County that provided a legal opinion. Because of the makeup of our attorney's office, they recommended I work with Karen Alley with MACO to determine our process based on state statutes and case law. So I've already done that with Karen Alley. So I should be in a position now to schedule the planning board recommendation relative to the growth policy update for next week's meeting. So I'll work with Carly and get that on the agenda.
Okay, good. Thanks, Mike. All right, meeting minutes, and we're looking at all but April 7th, which still needs some scrubbing. Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve the minutes for March 15th, March 29th, April 5th, April 12th, and April 19th.
And the special budget workshop for the 5th
Oh,
too.
five,
There's
six.
two
Yes.
sets.
And also for 510.
I agree. I had to turn the page.
Sorry, it's been busy.
No worries. Any corrections, comments, changes?
Nope.
None for me either. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Consent items, daily correspondence, public comments. Mr. Tinsley.
I think you were gonna bring this up also, but I had a picture taken and it was emailed to me about our zoning plans and meeting schedules. It was a 8x11 piece of paper and a green box site, which nobody clearly could see, wouldn't even know what it is. And the people that were here in the audience today and in the past audience saying, we don't know, we don't hear about it. I thought we got that message pretty well, but we're not getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, Karen, Mrs. Gilman in Wilsow does the Clyde Park Wilsow chatter and does an ad in the Enterprise every day for the Shills Valley. There's so many other groups that we can go to get this word out. And I was honestly pretty embarrassed to see an 8x11 piece of paper stuck to a fence at a green box site. We're clearly not meeting it.
Yeah, the other thing
That's it for me.
I would add, I think I would agree with all that. I think we're just not doing what we need to do to get the message out there, and I think people know that. And I could not be, more disappointed in the effort. I really appreciate efforts by people like Christina Nelson, who's been taking this to social media. Kudos to her for taking that initiative. We also got a communication from Kate Stewart, who's here today, volunteering to do some things that I think make a lot of sense, bigger visibility things in more places. And so I'm wondering, Kate, would you feel like you want to take that on the road a little bit and maybe work with our planning department to coordinate with them, make sure we're not duplicating efforts, and maybe try to
Be happy to do that.
that would be great. So that would be much appreciated. 'Cause
Thank you very much.
I think the thing is, that we do want to hear what people have to say. We do. And we keep saying that, but it's just not getting out there. So we'll do what we can to do better. And I think that's all I have for correspondence, unless you want to mention Clyde Park Friday. A good meeting up there.
We had a good meeting at Clyde Park Good Friday. Quite a few people showed up. Roads are always an issue everywhere you go in Park County this time of year. It's either too wet, it's too dry, or there's no gravel on them. Yesterday, Matt and I drove up to Horse Creek, and we're on a pretty muddy road in Park County, and I'm not sure if a small car could have made it through that. But we're working on that for sure. We were told that the people are going to church and praying for the commission. That's kind of a new thing for me.
We know that you know the help we can get.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we turn that.
But it was a great meeting, and it's a pretty good day to go to Clyde Park and go sign with people. Very nice people. That's all I have.
Okay. The only other thing I would add is there was an event by Yellowstone Bend Citizen Council on Sunday that had better attendance than I would have expected, considering it was raining time at the band shell. But it was actually to honor the commissioners, believe it or not, for taking the initiative and having the first CPACE district in the state. School by 100 hours. So we're all pretty excited.
Yeah.
And apparently the first CPACE project in the state just happened a couple weeks ago in Bozeman. Richard Brewing has a utility association, water and sewer project that was the first in the state and the first water and sewer project under CPACE nationally.
Oh, wow.
So I told them I would actually claim that project because Bozeman, as we know, is part of metropolitan Livingston. So we'll take some credit for that. And that's all I have to add.
We're done?
As long as you want to
Sure, I
adjourn.
move we adjourn.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
We're adjourned at 10:16. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
I know that